Hey, we're back, and I have even more denim than last time. So
Every time I see the countdown, I just want to be like, live from New York, it's Saturday night, and
right? How many copyright infringements are we going to hit with that?
Never be sure. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, I keep
Back.
I always get into the dance mode, but now that we're over on Haps as well, I'm like half dancing, half trying to read comments and like still adjusting myself to the platform. And so when my face pops back on, it's like, oh God. Oh, hi, Pablo. Pablo's here.
Yay,
Hi,
Pablo's joining us. Again, if you are listening to this as a podcast after the fact, we record it live on Haps TV, or you can check us out on YouTube and join the conversation and troll us while we have conversations and whatnot. So do it.
Yeah, because we are totally not okay.
The podcast, but that's okay. Oh, shit.
I
I totally didn't realize that's what you were doing.
You know what? I really hope this is my one wish for any kind of success for our podcast is that we never actually get it right.
The intro, you never will. It's been how long and I still don't get it right?
Anyway, my name is Kaylee LeGrand.
And I'm Justin Van Lee. So I always feel like a news reporter when I say that. Like it's so.
Well, yeah, we're on a platform that was, at least I think, for the most part, originally most of the first migrators over to this platform, I think, are broadcast journalists or independent broadcast journalists because it's set up so perfectly. And then there's guys, we tell stories, maybe not necessarily truth, because we have no idea what we're talking about, and we're okay. And Kaylee is still figuring out her relationship with labels in general. So, like always, we're going to bring our guests in and make them introduce themselves. It's going to be
yay! Welcome, Meags.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Meagan. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for joining us on the show. Let's start off by telling people who you are, a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am a talent agent. I represent actors for film and TV, and I'm based out of Toronto, Canada.
Get it, girl.
Have you been in Toronto the whole pandemic, the whole lockdown?
I have been, locked in my apartment with my 2 dogs and my cat.
Okay, but your dogs are adorable. Are we just doing this? I'm jumping right into the photos you sent me of your pets because I love them.
Yeah.
They're much cuter than me, so go for it.
Look how cute they are. Look at that little smushy face.
Rosie, yes.
Rosie, that was my grandparents' dog's name. That was our first schnauzer in the family.
It's a great name. And then Stanley, our cat, was my pandemic addition to the family.
Wait, so you got a cat during the pandemic?
I got him on March 23rd, like a year ago. So his name is Stanley, so it's his Staniversary.
I love puns. That face. For our audio only listeners, we have a cat doing all of Megan's work. He is also getting his exercise in acrobatics upside down, and looks entirely happy, just like a sticky smiley face sticker on her computer.
He's a wonderful addition to the family. And they're all rescues. The dogs are from Mexico, they each have their own sad, weird story. And then Stanley's actually from Toronto. He was rescued from a fire. His whole family died in a fire, and I adopted him after that.
Oh my gosh.
This cat.
Well, I fell in love with him on Instagram. I highly recommend you guys all follow Raylan the dog on Instagram. Raylan is a dog that for some reason loves kittens, and his mom works at an emergency vet, and they basically like raise kittens until they're ready to be adopted, orphan kittens, and this dog like acts like their mom. It's really cute. And they normally don't take adults, but Stanley needed some medical care because his little paws were burned from the fire. So they were posting about him on Instagram, and I was like, I love this cat. And I
Oh my gosh, what a story behind the cat too. Not to get too deep into it, but when you say that his whole family died in the fire, are you talking about his like the cat family, or was the family taking?
human dad and his cat brother. Yeah, really sad.
Oh
Wait,
my
so how
god!
has Stanley been getting along with Rosie? Because for those of you who obviously don't know Rosie, because no one knows Rosie except Meags and I, Rosie is like the most timid, shy dog in the world. And the first time I met her, I was so excited because I love dogs, and she does not love excitement.
Yeah, it takes a long time to win over Rosie, but yeah, she really likes cats. And because I'd seen so many pictures and videos of this funny little cat with this dog, I was like, oh, if I'm going to get a cat, it has to be one that I know will get along with dogs. And then honestly, I just got really lucky because they're all orange and white, like in the same palette. Like I've created my own little matching family, even though
You have a bunch
cobbled together.
of color-coded pets. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, they keep me company and they've kept me quite sane during the weird time that we're all living through right now.
Yeah. What has that been like for your shift as far as work goes? I mean, I know a little bit obviously from my side as an actor and making the shift into the digital world and already having a lot of experience with self tapes, but a lot more seems to be moving also into say the Zoom world. Has anything else shifted for your work because of it?
That's been a huge part of it. You know, the volume of tapes that we're processing through our office every day is like, I don't know, tripled, quadrupled. Like everything seems to be either via self tape or Zoom auditions, which some people really love, some people don't love so much. So that, yeah, that's been a huge part of it. But I think also just, I don't know, having a lot more patience with people, a lot more patience with myself. And, you know, it's really been a humanizing experience, I guess, adjusting to all of these changes. And there was a period of time when there was, like I think in May or June, like nothing was happening. And I think a lot of us were going like, how are we going to come out of this? But the industry's bounced back really well. And it's been a crazy busy year, all things considered.
Yeah, it's strange how, I mean, also kind of a beautiful shift that we started seeing, especially in 2020, how much we were able to sort of, and by we, I mean the industry was able to prove that a lot more can be done remotely. I can't remember the commercial. I think it was actually for iPads. It was like an Apple commercial or something that literally showed the whole behind the scenes stages of how they put it together. And it was their own personal journeys of the team that would like ship the equipment from one person to the other, and the cinematographer also including a video that would guide them through how to unpackage it and set it up and record themselves so that each component could be put together similarly to the way like the postal service, the band I'm talking about, not the actual postal service, the postal service, and how they got their name was exactly that way by recording their part and then shipping it off to another city or another town, wherever the other artist was, until finally everybody contributed and made this project together. So now that we're all able to do more digitally, it is kind of that double-edged sword where so much more digital content that you have to get through as an agent sifting through. Are your days incredibly longer now? How do you manage that for yourself?
Yeah, it's I don't know how, I mean, I don't know how we've just managed to adapt because the days really should be a lot longer. That being said, I have a great support team who helps me sift through and like manage all of that. But the tricky thing is, you know, for film and TV, especially, I like to watch the audition tapes whenever I get them.
Yeah.
So it's like very hard for me to like just gloss over things. You know, sometimes you kind of have to, but for the most part, like, yeah, I don't, you just make it work. And everyone in the industry has really been great at adapting. And yeah, I don't know. It's very impressive how people
Well, a large
manage.
part of your job too, like I remember pre-pandemic life. Oh my God, I feel like such a grandpa saying that. But pre-pandemic life, a lot of your job too, you'd invite me and we'd like go to these bars and like hang out with some of the people you're representing or other people in the industry. And it was like a lot of the connections that you relied on were happening in physical spaces and casual environments like that. So how has that shifted for you now that everything's online and you're not leaving your apartment and you're just playing with cats and dogs?
Yeah, it's been really strange. I miss, like, of all the things that I miss, I think about, yeah, pre-pandemic life, it is that social aspect, that networking aspect. It's been a hard adjustment, but the nice thing is, like, everyone is in the same boat. It's not like I'm just missing out,
Yeah.
it's everyone's sort of in the same boat, and I think feeling it in similar ways. Because it's true, like the Zoom networking, like the Zoom conference, the Zoom screening, it's just not the same. It's really not.
It's really
So yeah, everyone's had to be patient, but we can all, I think, commiserate at least. And sounds cheesy, but like we are in it together at least. But no, I feel fortunate because if, like, for example, we recently brought on actually a junior agent into our company, and for like during the pandemic, and I really feel for her because normally she would be coming out and she would be coming to those events, and you are meeting people in the industry organically. And like, I hate networking, quote unquote, but there is, like, when it happens naturally and happens from like a genuine place, it can be so effective. So I'm fortunate enough to be relatively established that I have a lot of those relationships that I don't. Yeah, but I think it would be hard if you were just starting out right now.
well,
And
super
at any point in the business, like to you would be missing that, I think, because nothing replaces it.
So, I guess that actually is exactly what I was going to ask you about, how you have had sort of a sense of replacing it. Is there a different way that you are attending networking events, or have you been attending even festivals going virtual now? What has the
I mean,
networking
we're
like
here
been like?
we're here. It's like, it's Justin's podcast. We're here for real talk. Like, no, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I feel so protective of my downtime when, like, all of my professional day is on the screen even more than it ever was. It's like, no, the last thing I want to do is continue to be in my house on more screens for work. You know what I mean? Like, no. So I haven't really, I've dabbled a little bit, I will say, but I haven't yet figured out how to, like, access that world in a way that feels good for me. That being said, I did get a Chromecast, so I'm able now to, like, because a lot of it was like, I was like, I'm not going to watch a film on my laptop, but now that I've finally, talking about, like, sounding like grandpa, now that I've finally figured out, like, oh, okay, at least I can get it on my TV. I'm like, all right, maybe I would do a film festival or like see a film that way or something. But I don't know. I've really, like, resisted that side of it personally.
I hear that. It's funny. I was texting with Justin a couple hours before we were about to hop on to here, and he could tell over my text. He's just like, "Are you okay? Like, something's off." And I'm like, you know what? It's been a day, and I know it's because I do the opposite. I stretch myself thinly, and I'm still learning how to, I guess, protect my downtime, especially now that we live so much more in the screen world. But I ended up saying yes to one producer down in LA and one director up in Toronto, a friend of mine up here, to take part in screen tests for them for their projects. And the project that I watched, like, I finally had time in between a bunch of my own work today to watch an anthology about. It was really cool. It was about short films that were made by women, but they were all about mental health, and they all had such a tone of gravity to them that it amplified the overall weightiness of them. So I was like ready to bawl my eyes. I'm like, I need to go for a walk. I need to, like, detach. I need to clear my head. We're gonna have a jovial time on our podcast, and I am not gonna be sad about the world. Enough of that. But
Yeah.
as far as protecting myself from that energy and, like, maybe choosing, hi Frank. Frank's just saying hello into the comments there. As far as protecting my own energy and my own time and, like, finding that schedule, oof, I can take a page from your books. But particularly, I wanted to ask you about, you say you like to watch audition tapes. do you like to be physically in, not physically, obviously, but in Zoom rooms? Is that something that you actually enjoy for auditions?
We're not invited. We're not allowed in the Zoom rooms. I would actually be very curious to be a fly on the wall just to know actually how that's been going, because I only have
Right.
feedback from clients, and yeah, some really like it, some do not like it. But no, I would like to, not all the time, but there are certain, I would definitely be curious to have that opportunity. That's a good idea, actually. I'm going to ask if I can bribe someone to lend me.
Yeah, because I think like moving into this virtual world, that's something that if you haven't seen what it's like or experienced what it's like so that you know what your roster is walking into when they're auditioning for things, I guess I just kind of assumed that that's something you've been experiencing as well. Because I did do you know Louis Beaumander, a coach in Toronto?
Yeah.
He at the beginning of, I guess, the transition started holding these sort of open forum style audition like or classroom like settings, so that, and inviting people from like kind of making it open for whoever wanted to join in and watch kind of from a gallery view. And I think that maybe that's why I had such a strange intro to it. I partook in the first classroom like setting or audition type setting for a really cool casting director in Toronto, but I wasn't aware that he was making it sort of public style. And once he opened the room and I saw the attendance ticking up above 100 people, I'm like, whoa, what's happening with this?
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you had that much like feedback from your roster for what their experience has been? Do they like it?
It seems to be a really personal thing. A lot of people I find are requesting, like, can I just self tape instead? They'd rather have the time to tweak it on their own. They don't, the stress of like the technology of it, or like as we're pretending there's no lag here, even right now, between us, like that sort of stuff. People just don't want to have the added stress of worrying about how that all is going to go, and they'd rather just have the opportunity to tape. Other people are like, cool, it's almost simulating what it might be like in the room.
Yeah.
And they're really into it. It really has sort of varied, I think. But you know what? I have to say, I feel like I need a ring light. Like that's what I should invest in. I'm so
every
you guys look amazing, and I feel like I'm dark and shadowy, like on the dark web over here.
It is the best investment that I have made. Actually, I'm about to also make another investment that might compare to my ring light, but the ring light, like I was wasting so much energy and the expensive lights, the power of my expensive lights for my photography studio, and because I do photography as well, but the lights themselves, they're not made for doing audition tapes. And when they get really hot, the fan in them starts to go off. So like halfway through my audition tapes, all you hear is start to ramp up. So this is the best investment that I've made so far, but I'm going to buy a trampoline too, I think. So that might be.
Trampoline? What?
Yeah, I was just chatting. I had a Zoom date with a friend, another actor friend who she was the one that turned me on to the idea. She bought one of those like personal size mini trampolines that you can like take the legs off and tuck away in your closet. But it is she like me has experienced a couple of head injuries, and she said that it was from the research that she did based on what benefits you can get for not just like the movement of blood and circulation, but for your brain activity and neuronally speaking. And if you're like, for me, I'm a runner and I run on too much concrete. So I think trampoline is going to be the next investment with my ring light.
Right on. Sounds good.
Well, Meagan, you were talking too about physical activity and how that's kind of helped you throughout the pandemic. Tell us more about that. That's a good segue. Thanks, guys.
Great segue. That was so good. So yeah, I found that for me, historically, the only exercise I've ever really loved and have enjoyed doing consistently has been spin class. And so when the pandemic hit, that was obviously taken away, doing group classes. And I know there was a brief period where things were allowed to open up again and people were going into group classes, but that just was not for me. So I put myself on the list to get a Peloton bike, and it took, I think it took 3 months to arrive, but it was the best investment I have ever made in my physical and mental health. It's been keeping me sane, and I'm actually just like, it's a lifeline, I think, to sanity. I know.
I want to know about Peloton. What exactly is, because it's not just a bike that you get, right? You're part of a cult now, right?
Well, okay. I don't want to say that. I will say I wish there are some things where it's like if you refer somebody, you get like money back or you get a code. Like I feel like I deserve to have that. They don't even really have that. But I have been telling everyone about it because it's an app. You can either have the bike or just have the app. And a lot of people have their own bike and will do the classes just on an iPad or their computer or whatever. But for me, I got the full bike experience, and it's basically cycling classes, strength classes, yoga, meditation. They have so many different things that you can do, and it's a monthly membership on top of the cost of the bike, and
it's like a gym thing.
What?
It's like a gym subscription.
It's like a gym subscription, but and you don't have to leave your house. Like for me, the best thing ever is to just roll out of bed and hop on the bike.
Yeah. Nice. Do you do meetings on it? I can just picture you like in a Zoom call on a meeting, just like on your bike.
It's funny. There's a movie that's shooting in Vancouver where there is an agent character who literally does that, and it's such a stereotype, and I find it so triggering. But it's also I feel seen.
I feel seen.
So are you connecting with other people too then? Like, is it, you said that you can use your iPad with it. Can you actually, like, so my sister has one too, and I'm trying to figure out, would you be able to jump in the same class as her? Like, do you see people from around the world?
You don't physically see them, but they have like a leaderboard, so you know that you're all there together. You can give like a virtual high five. It's kind of lame, but I have a couple of friends, like the three of us, we're now in a group chat, or one girl I didn't even really know, where there's like three of us in a group chat, and we motivate each other, and we're like, okay, we're going to do this class at 8 a.m. tomorrow, or see you on the bike at 8:30, and we just sort of hold each other accountable, because I'll always cancel on myself if I'm like, ooh, I'll set the alarm and I'll get on the bike at 8:30, and then of course the alarm comes and I hit snooze. But if I've said to these friends, okay, we're gonna do it, I won't cancel on them. So that's been really nice to have that, and it feels like a sense of community, even though you're still just in your own apartments.
Yeah, and especially in these times, it's kind of nice to have. At least I've been finding there are so many apps that are like even apps developing right now so that people can connect, and it really is giving me those hits of serotonin or the endorphins that surge when I actually get to like see somebody or hear their voice. And I never used to talk on the phone. I mean, like once in a while, kind of like connecting with my parents. But I remember that at the beginning of the lockdown, I had a friend who just started randomly FaceTiming me, and I FaceTime with Justin too. So I have like a handful of friends now that I actually will FaceTime regularly with. But the first time that she called me on FaceTime, I'm like, whoa. Like, excuse me, that's invasion of privacy. Like, you don't get to see.
I still feel that way. I have one friend, he'll never listen to this, I'm sure, but he aggressively FaceTimes me every day without warning. And like, but it's actually been good training, because I just started answering him, and like he could get me. Sometimes I look like a skeleton, like ghastly horrible, but I've started just answering and trying to just make peace with my natural self. But he's the only one I'll pick up for. I do find it like, I also don't enjoy Zoom dates. Like again, it goes back to the same thing.
Are you Zoom dating? What is that like? Tell me.
No, I mean dates with friends. I would never have a romantic relationship.
Whoa, Justin got very excited.
That's for a different podcast, my celibacy. But
no, you can share anything here.
But no, Zoom dates with friends or otherwise, no, I find it really hard to commit to them, and I feel like I just don't like giving it the same weight as I would an in-person hangout or whatever. Like I have to really like, okay. And Justin had to like check in with me a few times, I think, to make sure that I was even going to show up for this.
I was concerned that you would figure out how to log on. I love you dearly, but you just got a podcast, and I'm aware of that.
Just figured that out by the skin of my teeth. Yeah, it's true.
But so why wouldn't you go on a Zoom date?
Well, I have a hard time going on any date in any capacity these days. But to me, I feel so self-conscious on camera. And I think that that is very distracting. And yeah, I feel like it's not the same as getting the vibes in person. Like it just doesn't measure up. Although I do know some people, like my friend Julia, who may or may not be watching, she met a guy on Hinge during the pandemic, and like they've successfully been seeing each other for like quite some
Successfully
time now.
adding each other to their bubbles.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Done.
Lovers in a dangerous time.
Exactly.
Tails, would you do a Zoom date?
I mean, let's not get into my personal life.
Not your slew of men that you carry around.
Yes, my slew of with all this time that I have. I do actually. I've been doing Zoom dates with one of my best friends from Vancouver, who it also didn't really feel different or new or weird from her because that is sort of her style. So I think for me, Meagan, I feel very similar to you where when it comes to dating in general, and then to also put a year of playing with Kaylee's mind as far as what is reality, because everything's virtual now, so nothing's real. So everything is just a version of a version of a version. It's all simulacra. Let's not go into metaphysical town right now. But so obviously it takes a special person to want to date this. But as far as actually connecting through visual mediums, they're just, I think, again, like as an artist, there's something that violates the romanticism and the beauty of what that kind of a connection is that I'm looking for when it comes to like dating. I maybe I've watched too many movies, but I just want things to happen so organically, like the perfect meet cute in a movie, in a rom-com. And if I can't have that, I'm gonna die alone with no cats to eat my bones afterwards.
I get that.
Cat. But,
What about you, Justin? Have you been Zoom dating?
not really, but I totally would. I have no problem with it.
Oh, well, then hop on it and let us live vicariously through you.
Please, yes.
All right, let's bring it back to Meagan. So back to what we were talking about. First of all, how did you get into the industry? Why do you do what you do, and do you love it?
So I fell into it by accident, really. After I graduated from university, I went to UVic on the West Coast. Desperately wanted to come back to the East Coast. Very much a Toronto girl, not a BC girl in any way. And yeah, didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself, and got a job as an assistant at a talent agency, and had no real reference point. I always joke like I thought it was going to be like Entourage, like that was the only understanding I had of what a talent agency was, but yeah, I got thrown into it and ended up really loving the work, the clients, and got lucky enough to be, promoted through the ranks of this company, and learned everything I know sort of just by doing. And I do love it. It comes with its challenges for sure, but I can't picture myself doing anything else. And I feel like I got really lucky just sort of stumbling into this career that I didn't even know was a possibility. Like the funny thing about agenting is it's not, maybe there's now a program or two in a college somewhere, but it's not something that people go to school for. Like everyone comes at it from a different background, and it's kind of interesting, like, yeah, who the competition is and what brought them into the biz.
Well, tell us too a little bit about, because when you left your old job and you came to your company now, you actually started the Toronto office, if I'm not mistaken. You were the first and only agent that they had. Was it in Canada?
No, so it was a Vancouver-based company. I started the Toronto division of this company. Yeah.
What was that experience like? And I know at the time you were really stressed about making that change too. Tell us a little bit about how that actually went down and how you coped with all that and how you became the boss-ass woman you are today.
Oh, stop. Yeah, it was a scary change. I had been at the same company for a really long time and needed to make a move. And I knew that it was the right decision, but I didn't know what the fallout might be. I didn't know. I was very scared. I was scared that, oh, what if my connections, that I'd made over the years were only because of the company that I was at. And if I leave, they won't care about me or remember me or what. Like, there was a lot of fear, I think, that followed me into it. But that actually turned out not to be true. And I'm really proud of myself because, no, the connections that I made were genuine. And I feel like I have a lot of trust and a lot of friends and a lot of camaraderie in the industry. It's a relatively small pool in Toronto, and even in Canada, it's, you sort of know the main players, if you will. But for me, yeah, it was the right move. And it was nice to sort of have some autonomy while also being supported by a company that was very well established in Canada. And yeah, being able to sort of do my own thing in Toronto, but be a part of a bigger organization that is run by women and it has really amazing clients. And, I have a great team here now in Toronto. And yeah,
How big is the team now?
I've just gotten lucky.
When you first started, though, it was just you. How big is the team now?
So it's my assistant who's recently been promoted as well. And then we have this junior agent as well. So physically in Toronto, there's 3 of us. And we're part of a bigger team. There's 7, I think, agents in Vancouver, and we have 2 agents in Atlanta as well. So just got all of North America covered.
How did you build that team? Was it, did you link up with a team that already existed in Vancouver and a team that already existed in LA, or did you say, sorry, Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta. So the company existed already in Vancouver and Atlanta, and they brought me on to start the Toronto department.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So, but you wanted to make the jump from the original company that you were with. And so now that you are out and I guess working a little bit more entrepreneurially, what sort of benefits, what is the biggest benefit that you're experiencing with that kind of freedom?
For me, I think it was like, I don't know, I guess if you could compare it to a relationship, like a romantic relationship in a certain way, it's like sometimes you outgrow things, and sometimes you feel like things get stale. And for me, it's having the opportunity to learn after being at the same company for 10 years or so, to learn from some there's 3 partners that run the company, and they're really smart, savvy, interesting women that just have a similar but just different approach to running a business, to operating in Canada and North America. And yeah, learning from different people and just sort of feeling as well like I have a little more autonomy and a little bit more room to stretch my legs and make my own decisions while still being supported, yeah, by an existing company. Like, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you just start your own agency? But for me, I'm very much a team player. I like to collaborate. I like to have that rapport with people. So for me, yeah, opening my own agency just didn't appeal to me for a number of reasons. So
Well,
yeah.
I think you mentioned too that when you actually made the transition, you had a lot of anxiety about what would happen, what would this actually mean for you. You had the 10 years plus of consistency at your old job, and you're basically turning your back and opening the door on the next thing. Like, you don't know what's on the other side of that door. Having a little bit of that establishment, even though they weren't in Toronto, it was really good for you. And it really helped build you back up and create that confidence.
Yes, like there's no question that it was the right move, and it was one that I needed to make for sure. But yeah, it came with a lot of hardship, as I think any big leap, if you will, will. But yeah, no regrets, no looking back. And yeah, I had a lot of my clients came with me, and I've also signed a lot of really great new clients, and it's like the perfect marriage of old and new, I guess. And then, so we were about a year, I think I was about a year and a half into that. And then the pandemic hit. So it was kind of like, now
wow.
hurdle.
But it kind of worked for you though, because your office already worked remotely, right? Like you're already talking to the Vancouver team remotely. Like in terms of your workflow, you didn't have to do a massive overhaul. Like sure, you're not going into the office physically anymore.
So Stanley just came to join. He wanted to make an appearance.
Yeah.
An issue at hand, but yeah. He likes to be a part of the action.
Did he just wake up? He looks like he just woke up.
I don't know what he was at. He always kind of looks a bit startled. Oh, did I just start a fire and kill my whole family? Like that kind of.
Oh my God.
Wait, so is the winning theory that Stanley killed his family?
A lot of people have made that joke that he's the arsonist, especially because a couple of times already, like his tail's gone into a few candles where it's like really a bit dicey. But no, it's perfect angel.
You're laughing about it, but if I have to hear about you going up in flames, I'm gonna be so sad.
Okay, I'm afraid of that for you, and even just about the story about the cat. I want to go back to your agency. I want to go back to the fact that you have arms across the border as well. I am curious, and I'm assuming maybe this would be something that maybe our audience members would be curious about as well. There is a differentiation from the Canadian landscape across to the U.S. border, at least in regards to some of the meetings that I've been taking with, particularly with writing agents, like now that I'm looking for representation for that side of my work, but it ended up also starting to pull in meetings with managers. And Canada doesn't necessarily see a lot of teams around actors that have both agents and managers. Have you been involved in those relationships, or do you see some of that out of your Atlanta house?
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot kind of to unpack in there. First of all, in Canada, it's true. Like there isn't the same distinction between agent and manager, but for some agents, I feel like they'll have hundreds of clients to themselves and operate like very much like a big agency. For me, for both companies that I've worked for, there is much more of a managerial style. So, in general, like more of a boutique feel, curating your individual roster more, not having, hundreds of people and sort of throwing them out there and seeing what sticks. It's more about a more thoughtful, hands-on approach. And that's always kind of been just my instinctive way of working. That being said, I can only really speak for my clients and I guess my company in some ways. We have a lot of great agents and managers in the States who we work with, who are like-minded, who we really trust, who sort of get the Canadian side of things and are very open to collaborating cross-border, especially because in the past, 5, 6, 7 years, like there's been more US productions shooting in Canada than ever. So you kind of do have to work with people who are willing to operate as a team and not really you don't want to be fighting over that territory. It's important to have people as well who like bring something to the table. Like sometimes I find there are actors who really want a manager or have a manager and you're kind of going, okay, well, what is the point? Like, is it just for your ego? Like, what are they bringing to the table here? And are you wanting to pay this person commission if they're not actually generating appointments, getting meetings, actually giving valid feedback, whatever it may be. So yeah, that being said, like there are a lot of people who I represent across North America. It's just me. There are a lot of people who have an agent, a lot of people have a manager, some people have both. So we see all different kinds of permutations.
Wait, so for the idiot in the room, aka moi, what is the difference between an agent and a manager?
I mean, in very loose terms, because I also will say the role of both in the States has kind of evolved. Like historically, I guess you could say an agent is responsible for getting auditions and like negotiating deals. Like in very simple terms. For a manager might read the script, decide why it's not right for a client, or a manager might be picking up the phone to, call their connections and sort of finesse the relationship to get somebody into the room, or looking at the appointments that the agent is bringing and saying, no, we're going to pass on that one, or like, yes, they should audition for that. And that's just like loose terms. But that being said, we have a lot of managers who operate more like agents, where they're really hustling, they're getting auditions, they understand a lot of what needs to happen for negotiating a deal and are really competent on that side. On the flip side, there are agents who I think sort of really have more of a hands-on approach, care about the client, understand the client's end game, and you don't need the manager. Like I find realistically, you have to be at a pretty high level to need both. That being said, some people do, and the teams really work. Sometimes you have somebody who's redundant. A lot of the time, the Canadian agent gets considered the redundant one. That's another hard thing too. But it's, but again, it's different for everyone. It's kind of case by case what makes sense, I think.
Have you ever wanted to work across the border? Are there any draws for you, or do you really like working in Toronto in Canada?
Yeah, that was a huge part of like when I was sort of at a crossroads in terms of, okay, what's the next stage of my career going to look like? I'd sort of felt like I was spinning my wheels a little bit. Maybe it hit a ceiling, not really sure what was next, and feeling like, yeah, I needed a new challenge, or I needed like something more. And of course, yeah, I definitely considered if LA or even New York made sense, and was kind of pursuing that relatively actively as it happens. But in the end, I think serendipitously, this opportunity made a lot of sense for me and checked a lot of the boxes that I was missing. And the great thing is, like, I love all of my contacts in the States, and I'm always looking to strengthen and develop new contacts there. And I'm happy to keep doing that rather than like dive into the pool and compete as like the new girl, if you will. But for me, yeah, I think for me, it's like, I always like, I don't, I'm not happy just having my clients on the Murdoch mysteries, let's say. There are some really amazing projects that we just don't get in Canada. And like, I want my clients to be a part of that. So whether it's me getting that for them from here, or me like being there, that's just a goal of mine. And right now I'm lucky enough that I can do that from here. And hopefully when things open up again, like, I would love to be able to take a month and work from LA or work from New York, and sort of network actually in person again, and do that as a part of my like yearly duties, I guess. But yeah, for now, I'm like super grateful that it worked out, and that I'm here, and that I have an amazing team and amazing clients. And yeah, the whole year I've just been like feeling very grateful for the way everything's worked out.
So for everyone joining us, just again, background, Meagan is like insanely good at networking. Like insanely good. And that's actually how the two of us met.
Well,
kind of, because you're so good at networking. Come on.
By networking, you mean two people both fighting over the same candy while there's a speech happening in the background. We're like weren't we trying to like fill our little bags, and that's how we became friends?
That is a meet cute. That's how people are supposed to meet.
What I was going to ask, like,
we're definitely kindred spirits.
If you could boil down, like, if you could create Meagan's top 3 tips to networking, what would they be?
Steal the role of drink tickets without apologizing. Justin, looking at you, got in a bit of trouble for that one, but made no apology, got away with it. I think, yeah, no, I hate, like I think I said this earlier, but I hate networking when it's like, when you want something from someone. For me, it's like, it has to feel like you're interested in the people that you're meeting, and that you're interested in developing a relationship without like, what can I get from this? Like, I feel like a lot of people go into networking being like, ooh, I'm going to like pass out my business card and like get something. For me, it's more about like building long-term relationships, whether that's happens, yeah, at the bar over candy, or just like, yeah, through years of sort of working together. and building like a natural rapport, I guess. Yeah, that's the kind of networking I like to do.
You're out for friends, you're not out for business.
Yeah, and like exactly, and ideally there's a nice marriage of the two, and I feel like that to me makes the job worthwhile, because otherwise you're just like dealing with actors all day.
Okay, now in the reverse or the inverse to that, because there can be blurred boundaries, especially when you're marrying, working with friends together. What would be your top 3 tips for ensuring you have proper boundaries set in place so that the lines don't get blurred too much?
In terms of like friends and business, a little
Yeah,
bit.
because so much of, I operate the same way. I want to work with friends, but I think it's kind of common, probably in any industry, that, we all have to have our own safeguards or boundaries, at least so that, I don't know, we're not double dipping with everything.
That is like a really tricky one, and I don't know if I have like all of the answers, because I do think that, like, yeah, the way that I naturally like to work is through building a friendship. But that being said, you can never take that for granted, or like even with, let's say, the clients that I have, who I have grown to like love, to care about, where we have like a texting relationship, where we're like, there's like a serious trust and love. Like, I always have to remember, like, okay, but I am still their agent and they're still like an actor, so it's like you just always have to kind of remember that. And like, I don't know, try not to puke in front of them at a party or something. At the very least, at the bare minimum. And I think also, though, yeah, you just have to know, for myself, like, even with those, there are certain people too where it's like maybe they haven't like earned that privilege of the texting nonstop. Sometimes people will text me at what I consider to be like inappropriate hours, or even on the weekend, and like I won't respond, or I'll respond by email to try and like give them the hint. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you texted me, but I'm responding by email. Like, wink, wink. This should have been an email.
Ooh, that's a
That's
move
like
I wish I
I
could
try to train
use.
people a little bit that way. That being said, I like to be approachable, and there are sometimes when I need to be available on the weekend or after hours. But again, it's like you need to, I think, also ask yourself, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Like, if I were them, would I appreciate this? Or if I were them, would that be okay? Um, yeah, it's like human decency.
Well, I
Well,
think
you say it's decency, but it's astonishing how often I see quite the opposite from some people. And maybe I was raised by a military man who, unfortunately, like, if friends called and the first thing that came out of their mouth on the phone was, "Hi, is Kaylee there?" He would not allow them to speak to me until they properly understood and were like trained into saying, "Hello, Mr. Legrand, how are you? It's so and so speaking." And like, it was just, that has been ingrained in me. And so I think it stands out so much more when I meet somebody who doesn't have the same sort of sensibilities that you're talking about, that does seem so commonplace for someone like you, someone like us, I'm assuming. And it's funny how much it still exists with people even just sending random messages saying, "Hey, heard you speak in a clubhouse room. Can we follow each other on here? Can we follow each other on Instagram? Can we follow each other?" It's like, who are you? I don't understand this exchange, this
Yeah,
transaction.
it's true. Well, there are always going to be those people, and you kind of have to try and weed them out, or like at the very least, hopefully they're not the ones who I already represent. Because I try to, like, keep it to a certain caliber, or like, yeah, or they'll very quickly catch on.
I think what you're touching on too, Kales, is like it's an industry of blurred lines. Unfortunately, it's an industry of illusion, and so you get into this weird space where, like, yeah, as you were talking about, Meegs, it is a tight knit community of agents and casting directors, and like it's a small pond. The world is big, but you still know a lot of people in it. Like, it adds up really quickly, and I think it gets into this really weird place of like having this pressure to constantly feel like someone's friend when you may only be a business colleague, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But also, yeah, you kind of have to. yeah, there's a give and a take, and I think you have to like trust your instincts, or even if you're not sure, address it like, okay, you're not sure. That being said, a casting director called me on Sunday because he thought a note that I had made on a submission was like so funny that he just like had to call me and like laugh about it. But like he's an amazing casting director, and like I will never not take his call. And I was just like so happy that he thought I was funny. I was like, of course I'm gonna take this call. Granted, yeah, it was my Sunday, but like it you know, those are the kind of things I'm like, I'm doing something right. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Those are definitely the boosts and the boost for the confidence. I've definitely been feeling. I think that's the part that has me giving up my rest, my personal time, and my sleep time is when because we've moved into this virtual world. We have so many more opportunities to hop on a Zoom call with people or to get those messages from people that we never would have before, or at least that's been my experience. And so I think I've been such an excited little puppy when it comes to that I'm like, yes, 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 yes to all of that, because especially if they're going to laugh at my jokes, I want all of that. I want to eat all of that up rather than having sleep.
I get that. I'm not an actor, but I like that validation also.
I love how it's still very clear that actors still sit up here on that level of how much we want that validation.
Yeah.
Justin, you're going to be back into acting, aren't you?
Pardon?
You're going to get back into acting, aren't you?
Maybe eventually. I don't know.
You didn't tell me that.
You know this.
I want you to get into casting.
Yeah, and now you're trying to get me into casting too. I love it. Guys, I'll do it all.
We're just trying to get him to do everything.
I will literally do it all. I have no life. It's pandemic. What are you talking about? I'll learn all the new things.
Did Justin ask you about the 2 truths and a lie game?
Yeah.
I don't have it. Justin, do you have that?
No, Meags came up with her own. We were texting frantically about it because she didn't know how to make up truths or lies.
What?
No, it was too hard to choose.
Okay, that's more interesting.
It was too hard to choose.
Let's play. I want to hear these.
Shit. Okay, so I have to say them, right, Justin? I forget what they are now.
Are you serious?
Well, I forget what the lie was.
They're all true.
Okay, hang on. Now I feel put on the spot.
Well, Justin, you read them. You were texting them. Justin, you read them out loud. Put Justin on the spot.
Yeah, Justin, do you have them? I forget what we decided on.
Give me 2 seconds. You were super confident about this, so I thought you would come to this section ready.
No, but I blanked. I was like, oh my God, it's been an hour. Like, I'm going to be exempt from the 2 truths and a lie.
Okay, no, you're not going to be exempt. Come on.
You said it was a casual thing and I could do whatever I wanted.
You can. You could walk away from everything if you wanted.
Okay, so hilariously, it's not coming up on my computer, but it's definitely on my phone. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulty.
Well, it's like, you remember the truth, but I can't remember the lie. And it's like, you need to be able to deliver them all equally confidently or it's just pointless.
I love how
That is true. When you were saying that or I think it was Justin who was saying that you couldn't figure out, I don't remember now at this point. I am lying about everything. When you were saying that you couldn't, it was too hard to figure out what was true and what was a lie. I thought we were going back into like, what is reality again? And I'm like, I feel it. I definitely feel it because I feel like I'm not in a real world.
Guys, you know why I can't find it? And this goes back to like weird 2020 things that I didn't do before. I guess technically it's 2021 now. It was a voice note. We were texting over voice note.
Yeah, why do people love to give voice notes?
Because we want to hear people's voices. It's been a year since we've had contact.
Oh yeah, it was a voice note. Damn it. It's gone. That's right.
Do it.
Why didn't you transcribe it into handwritten scrolls and send it to me via pigeon carrier?
Oh, it's gone now. It didn't save though. That's the thing about voice notes, guys. They're
see, I don't really even know how to.
If you can't come up with a lie, me.
Yeah, let's skip it. That whole game was a lie.
Yeah, this was a waste of airtime. Can you?
Megan's calling.
Wait.
Be real. Nobody listens till the very end. Like,
okay, here, just
Yeah, no, we can say all of the truths now.
50-50 coin toss, guys.
Okay.
Meagan is drinking wine out of her mug, yes or no? That's the game.
Oh, I pray it's a yes, and that we can all agree that vodka and lemons is okay for podcast episodes. Just kidding.
All right, the moment of truth means, is it wine or not?
it's wine. It's
Yes.
definitely.
Why didn't you put it in a wine glass? I told you could drink.
I know. I felt like, oh, what if there's children watching? I don't know.
I love it.
Did
You're
children have hats?
You're so considerate, Megan. Even when you're like a mug
I'm
full
trying
of
to
wine.
cover my own ass. I'm not considerate. I'm just like, I don't want to get it. You can't prove it. I can say it, but you can't prove it. There's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, even though you also just voiced it, there are technologies that would allow us to doctor your voice, so you can claim that too.
It could just be water, and I'm trying to act cool.
That is true.
I love it. Okay, so one cool thing. Let's go on to one cool thing, guys.
Okay, who's going first?
You go first, Kales.
Oh man, I always go first. Okay.
I also love that I said that as you were drinking. Like, you shouldn't have been my first choice because you literally had lemon in your mouth.
Literally me trying to like get out of it, but you're like, do it ventriloquist style while you're drinking.
If you want to get signed on by Meads, you're gonna have to do it.
I'm pulling out all the stops, just looking for my name in lights. I do have a one cool thing. And I don't know if I should, like, if there are kids listening, don't do this. Just don't. So I have a bunch of essential oils at home from Saje. Like,
I love where this story is going already.
I feel like, Justin, you turned me onto them when I was at your place
My mom is crazy.
What's that?
My mom is crazy. She literally has a bookshelf full of essential oils.
Yeah, and when I went home, I'm like, Mom, why don't you have a bookshelf full of essential oils? So I took my mom to go, especially once the pandemic hit. I bought an additional one. My mom bought 2 new ones, the infusers, and we bought a bunch of essential oils that are supposed to be air purifying. We bought like an immune one and one that's called Rainforest, which has been so calming at night. Like, it's the only thing that actually does, I think, keep me asleep for a little bit. And I've started to recognize that I'm now waking up as soon as it finishes because it only lasts for a couple of hours. And I don't know why my sleep has been off. I mean, that's another episode. We'll talk about dreams.
You do know. It's because you drink too much coffee.
Look, that's not always true. I have a couple of mugs by my bedside, but I don't drink them while I'm sleeping. So I don't see your point. But what I don't recommend to kids to do, this is the most exciting part of the journey, that once I started getting into essential oils, first time I went shopping with Tanya, old co-host from here. So shout out to anybody who remembers her. That was rude. I'm sorry, Tanya. We all remember you. But Tanya and I went shopping for she's fine. She's in, I forget what island.
She's fine.
She's on like some sunny island this past weekend or week, but she's great. We had the most interesting chat with the salesperson who really, really ramped up the clary sage and sold it so hard that I ended up buying like 3 bottles because she's like, look, I shouldn't tell you this, and don't tell my boss that I'm telling you this, but some people put this clary sage essential oil under their tongue before they go to bed. And I'm not saying it's like a psychedelic, but sometimes the dreams that you have afterwards, again, can't really finish. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm like, of course I buy 3 bottles. And she's like, I'm also not supposed to tell you that it is actually something that you should ingest because technically probably not good for your immune system. Like, I don't care. I will drink this tiny bottle of clary sage. It does get you a little buzzed.
Stop!
Worse?
Oh my God.
I feel that about melatonin. I take a lot of melatonin to help with sleep, and I feel like I have freaky ass dreams.
Guys, this is the equivalent of telling kids or telling people, not kids. I don't know why we're talking about kids so much. This is the equivalent of telling people to drink mouthwash to get drunk. That's what we're promoting right now.
well, someone's got to be president.
I'm in. I mean, that I feel like my cool thing is so much less cool. I was like, guys, I've really rediscovered the Toronto Public Library.
That is cool, but they have incredible resources. Like you can watch movies on there as well now, and you can rent books digitally.
The library, I've actually, it took me a long time to like read a book during the pandemic. Everyone's like, oh, I'm baking bread, I'm reading. I like wasn't in that first wave of people, but the library has been great. And also this app called Libby, which connects to but Libby, you're nodding, Justin?
I do.
Yeah, it's the best. You can get audiobooks, you can like borrow digital books, and it's just so much better than even having to go to the library while still accessing the library.
Your cool thing is that you love the library, but you love it because you don't have to go to the library.
Exactly. That's a huge part of it. I also, the crazy thing about the library right now is there's no fines for having late books. So I've literally had a book I think almost a year that, by the way, I lost. And I had to say to them, like, just asking for a friend, like, what are the consequences if you lose a book? Do you have to just pay to like replace the book, or like are you like, punished? Anyhow, in the end, because of Stanley, he knocked something behind my dresser, and I was like, oh, Stanley, you're so annoying. But then I found that book, which I still haven't read, but now I'm like, I can read it because I know where it is. And
I thought this story was going to end in fire.
What happens if you lose a Toronto Public Library book?
They said, they're like, it depends. I think you just really have to pay the value of the book so they can have the book as well.
But what are they going to do if you don't?
It's pretty mistakes. But I was having a lot of guilt and anxiety over it.
Who's going to come after you?
Now I'm just picturing like a little old librarian knocking on people's doors being like, where's your book?
No, I know. But like, that's no fines. Like, how do they even exist? I don't know.
If she shows up at your door, just give her a little bottle of clary sage. Tell her to put some under her tongue and have sweet dreams.
And she'll have all the books she could ever want for.
Oh, and more.
On that note, my one cool thing is going to be that I made dumplings from scratch tonight, and that is my cool thing. And everyone should make dumplings because they're super easy and way too delicious.
Wait, what about your puppy? Is that not a cool thing, or has that already been covered in a previous episode?
My puppy was covered in a previous episode, but there will be follow-up footage after April 8th of Set Puppy because we're very excited for Set Puppy. His name is Aspen, and he's really cute.
His name is
Aspen. You go with Aspen.
Yeah, we're going with Aspen.
Very cute.
Sounds like
the name of an essential oil, kind of.
I love it.
I mean, it's a tree, so it could be an essential oil. It's like a birch tree.
Yeah. I told you I'm moving, right, Justin?
Yeah, you are moving. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Where are you moving to?
Just down the street.
Are you staying on the exact same street?
Yep. Pretty much.
Wait, so why are you moving? In the pandemic? How does that work?
Well, because I didn't have anywhere to spend my money. I just like have all this money to pay on more rent, I guess. I don't know. And it's like a nicer place.
Yeah, excellent. Your place is already huge though.
Yeah, it's a similar size. Don't worry. I'm not downsizing too much, but it's just like, it's for a woman. I feel like my place now is for a girl, a student, a girl, but now I'm a woman.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to break into a Britney Spears tune.
Oh, if I could sing, I would be.
We should, I still am throwing it out there, Pablo. Turn this into a karaoke platform. Oh, dead.
Alrighty. And on that note, I think that brings us to an hour. Guys, this is the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Meags.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you. Hopefully someday in person.
I'm sure of it. Okay, thanks, guys. What do I do now? Just wait and you turn me off?
You go back to your wine in your mug, and I'm going to go to my vodka, and yeah, you can close your...
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Oh my God. Remember, guys, if you're listening to this episode on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you listen to your episodes, you can also send us voice notes at Anchor FM, anchor.fm/WTNOK, and you can check out our socials, which are the same thing, WTNOK. Kills, do you want to plug your socials? Do you have anything to say before we say goodbye?
Dance the night away. Drink Clary Sage.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, you can support it by subscribing to it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also leave us a rating or review, which sincerely helps us and we absolutely love. Come hang out with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and send us your questions, recommendations, and cool things at we'retotallynotokay@gmail.com. Thanks for listening to We're Totally Not Okay, but that's okay.